Hey everyone, it's Morgan and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are switching it up a little bit and using only paint this time. But here's the kicker, it is for painting on anything that is not a canvas. So any alternative surface that I could pull up that wasn't a canvas, no traditional painting surfaces. This idea for this video, it actually came from a homework assignment that I did for the past semester at my art college. It was a pretty funky one, actually. This was a class that was focused on mostly using oil paint, but this was one of the first assignments where you were given more of a free range, where you could use acrylic or even gouache or watercolor if you wanted to, depending on your surface, since it was understood that oil painting on any surface might be a little bit more difficult given the drying time and whatnot. So for this video, I'm working with only acrylic on a record and the little wooden mirror that I've had for so long that has been way too boring for too long. It just needed a little something. So up to this point in the video, you've seen me using gesso to basically just prime the surfaces for both of these alternative surfaces. For the record, I actually used I'm calling it an art nail file, but it's just the one that I use for materials and not my nails. But I use a nail file to like rough up the surface a little bit, just to give the acrylic paint a little bit more of a chance to like stay stuck on the surface and not pop off or chip off in the future. But after that, I just put a couple coats, I think it was like 2 to 3 for each of them, of gesso, just to prime the surface and make everything ready for the paint that I am now beginning to apply, starting with the record. I'm going to be switching back and forth throughout the video since I was trying to bust out the assignment as quickly as possible, but I needed to give each layer at least a little bit of time to dry in between so that I could successfully continue to layer things on top of each other without it just blending all up into one layer, which is another good point as to why I would want to use acrylic paint and not oil paint. Acrylic paint dries like way faster, so using that to my advantage. I was doing this very quickly. It was definitely late at night, and yeah, I just needed to get this done. In terms of my actual painting process throughout this video, the two approaches were very similar, I would say. For both objects, I started with the background, which was going to be like a soft gradient for both of them. So for acrylic paint, you do have to work quite quickly though, since the drying time can be a little bit inconvenient when you're trying to cover a large surface all at once, which was the problem with the record. So finishing that gradient off nice and quick, then I moved right along to the little mirror. And since this was since this was a wood texture, I just kind of felt the need to paint it white first. I honestly couldn't tell you why, because I did not do that with the record, which was a much darker surface to start off with. But the first layer is me painting white, and then I will try to paint the black layer on first, which you will see me struggle with since it will not be pure black anymore, since, I decided to paint it white first. So I'll fix that up later with a couple extra coats after it dries, but I start with the as black as I can on the bottom, and then moving on to the darkest gray and just attempting that first layer of the gradient. And it will take a couple layers to get it to be as soft and just, as easy on the eyes as I want it to be, but the process was enjoyable. One of the very convenient things about working with such a seamless two-color gradient is that you will see me working with the same paintbrush the whole time as well. I don't clean it off or get a new one really at any point, since I'm working as diligently as possible in doing the dark gray first all the way around, and then moving to the medium gray all the way around, all the way up into the white. So that was very satisfying for me and for my laziness level as well. Nice, always good. Keeping the same paintbrush also really helps with the speed of the painting, which is, once again, something that I'm really trying to keep in mind working with acrylic paint. So keeping this gradient as seamless and just as nice as possible. If I were to be switching my paintbrush out or trying to clean it in between, I would definitely be struggling quite a lot more with the paint, drying and not working and blending back in with itself enough. So always nice. Then, once the background was finally complete, I was moving into the subject matter of the painting. This was just, in my eyes, this was kind of my warm-up painting and just a nice, relaxing one. I wanted to put more effort and more time and detail into the record painting, so I was just kind of having fun with this one and not really setting any goals too high and just kind of, getting a feel, getting loose. So I was just doing like little plants here and there and like colored dots and like pastel colors. It was like pastel green, yellow, pink, and just doing a bunch of little silly designs all over it. I really enjoy the soft look to like very small details that are like simple and in color and shading. So yeah, I was pretty satisfied towards the end with how my little details came out. I would probably change a couple things. You can see me struggling here and there since, I don't know, I just didn't seem to have a paintbrush that was small enough, or maybe I don't have a lot of experience or a really good feel for it, but it was still relaxing and I would still attempt something like this again, I think. Maybe with a better paintbrush and a little bit more time and less uncontrollable energy. Other than that, though, I did have a pretty good time doing this little mirror, and that was basically it. I was just adding small details and adding on to what I had until I felt like it was completed in my eyes. I just kept flipping the mirror around and adding more every time I felt like the blank space was just a little bit too much. So, yeah, just enjoy me finishing up this mirror, and then we'll switch over to the record and finish that one up, too. So, in regards to the assignment, I wanted the record to be the more eye-catching piece in this duo. That being said, I decided to do a bit more of like an experimental technique with this. You can see me like dripping paint on. I watered it down a bunch and just kind of threw it on there, blew it around a little bit with my breath, and then let that dry and went right in over top of it with the main subject for this piece. To tie it in just a little bit with the mirror piece and also with my own interests, I added two just green plants over top of this design. If I'm being quite honest, I'm not even sure what type of plant this would be, or if it really even falls under the category of a real plant. My initial reference picture, I believe, was someone else's like drawing design, but I stopped using it probably, I don't know, a quarter of the way through and just kind of let my brain figure out what it was I was going to be painting. So it is a plant design, but who knows if this is a real plant at all. And honestly, I'm quite happy with that little bit of information, because that really does fall under the like freedom category again that I'm trying to follow here, of just letting myself be a little bit more free. In my free time, my like personal interests, I would always choose to use like very photorealistic references, and I prefer drawing hyper-realistic subjects, so being open-minded and just, you know, I keep using the word free, but being free with my art is not something that I'm super familiar with and super comfortable with. Abstract design is a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I've been trying to push that a little bit, especially this semester in my painting class, so peeling away from that reference, I think, is a good step forward for me. I think it makes my art feel a bit more unique, and I like that. Alright, and now we're moving on to our final step, which is adding just that final coat on top to seal everything in and give it just that extra bit of chance of not chipping off or scratching or any of that. And for this, I'm using a matte Mod Podge. and I'm applying this very similarly to the way that I was applying the gesso in the beginning of the video. So just 2 to 3 coats, let it dry in between, and after that, we are all done, finally. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this little mini no canvas challenge video, make sure to let me know, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!